You are now entering the box. All right, we're back again, damn it. We keep taking hiatuses, but this time we're really coming back. We got help. We got dedicated help to try to do this. What's up, man? Got Composition C here.
Not a lot, having some fun. I'm off a hiatus too, so I think we're on the same energy.
Yeah, man, it's just been, so when you get busy, you kind of have to take care of life, and in this case, like other work, actual work that makes us money.
Yep.
Not just joking around on microphones here. Yeah, man, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
To people that don't know who you are.
Name's CompositionC. I'm a producer, music producer, artist out of Springfield, Illinois. I've done some work in California, in Orlando, in Minnesota. I've got a Guinness Book of World Records submission for a rap verse I had for a cipher locally in Springfield. Just here having some fun.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I didn't think we'd be with fucking, excuse my language there, two people in Hawaiian shirts today.
Yeah.
We golfed.
Flyer Shirt Friday.
Yeah.
I
got to get some Ootbox ones.
Yeah.
We got, no, I like the matching, though. That's dope.
I actually didn't buy them at the same place.
I
didn't buy them at the same place.
Really? What? How's that possible?
That's what I said.
That's crazy.
There's a funny story with that, but
we golfed this morning. I was mentioning we try to get up on Fridays and walk to get a little exercise, get a little golf, and we played with another buddy this time, and he was Hawaiian shirted up too.
He got the memo. It's Flower Shirt Friday for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, that's funny. We got to get that going. Some Ootbox flower shirts. Man, I got to ask you. So, well, one, where's the name CompositionC come from?
That's a good one. So, CompositionC is actually a duo name. So CompositionC is actually the long name for plastic explosives. So C4, everyone has mostly heard from C4, whether it's action movies or whatever. Yeah. So the long term of that is Composition C4, and there's a C3 and a C2 and a C1.
And that's just different levels?
It's different compounds. And gotcha. So the Alfred Nobel, who was the one who is kind of coined with inventing it a long time ago.
Isn't that funny, the Nobel Prize? I just learned that like a year ago. It was like the guy, because I guess he invented it, and then wasn't he getting bad press or something, and then went on like a campaign.
There's a whole story, win
the Nobel Prize, or sponsored it to try to get his name good or whatever again.
Yeah, because everyone started using it, dynamite and everything. It just kind of evolved. But the C4 is also middle C on a piano, and that's where I started music. So I was like this hybrid, the middle of the road, kind of oxymoron contrasting sides. So that's where the name comes from. So
obviously, we're do marketing here. But I'm curious, what made you not put a space between the composition and the C?
So CompositionC, if you put a space in it, there was a lot of music that was coming up when you would Google search for it. Yeah. And this is a name I came up with years and years. I mean, I started making music like 15 years ago, so I mean, like
I saw a video on your YouTube. It was like 11 years ago or something.
Yeah,
right?
It's a long time ago, and that was like when I made the YouTube. So there's timestamps, but yeah, about like 15 years ago, I started making music. I started releasing it about 5 years ago, and so the CompositionC though, when I was Google searching, the second you type in composition, every classical song basically comes up. I'm like, there's no way I can get away with this, and I looked at Composition C4, and some other guy already had it, and looked at plastic explosives, was like, I'm not getting away with that. It's just Wikipedia results and whatever. Yeah. So I was like, if I put it together, Composition C, what happens? And after a while of coming out with music, it's shown to prove itself. If you Google it, first page results.
It's funny just the way my mind works. That was the first thing I thought about. I was like, did this dude know what he was doing when he did this?
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah, that's good looking ahead and doing that research, because when I first saw it, when you first messaged me, I was like, oh my God, did he mean to put a space? You know what I mean? I was like, because this is going to come up so much stuff. Am I going to be able to find him? And then, yeah, it was like literally, as long as you don't put that space. The only thing it did was it suggested something else. And I was like, nope, I want the actual no space.
Tries to autocorrect you like you spelled composition.
But yeah, then it just came right up. Yeah. And actually there was like a topic, and I looked at the topic first, and and it had some stuff. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, here's an actual his YouTube page. So I was just like double checking. I was like, is this him? And I was like, yeah, that's him. All right.
Yeah, the topic. So like DistroKid's a music distributor that you will put all your music on all the platforms and everything. Mm-hmm. You pay an annual fee.
Yeah.
They create their own channel called Topic for you, and that's just
gotcha.
Like so. Like I think
so that's where that came.
There's
from.
Quite a few big artists. You can tell which ones use DistroKid because when it releases, it'll say their name -topic, and so they're using DistroKid.
Oh, nice.
So.
Isn't it funny when you use like programs and stuff like that? There's those little things that you can pick out, like with website creators and different stuff. Like I notice shit like that all the time. Like, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, it just got socials updated. Like, I'm sure if you look at the YouTube channel, there's a bunch of videos within the last like 3 weeks. I was slacking on my YouTube channel. I've been doing Instagram, Facebook, and I noticed that my YouTube I had like almost none of my works on. So
it's hard.
Circle back around.
There's so many outlets, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to. I mean, even us getting stuff to all of ours at once. I mean, we do use software that helps, but sometimes posting individually is more beneficial depending on what you're trying to do and what it is. Like this, for example, a lot of these are around an hour long. So sometimes our software, like it's too long or too big to post through, then we post everything, and sometimes you have to post it differently. So, yeah.
It's a science for sure.
Yeah. Do you, so what'd you call that? DistroKid?
DistroKid.
Okay.
Yep.
Kid. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. We use something like that for the podcast to distribute the podcast everywhere. So it helps it. So it's faster to go out to like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically all the main stuff, Amazon.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot more convenient.
Way easier, and then having to fight them individually, and most of the services are pretty cost efficient or friendly. And
this one's completely free.
Oh, then that's the best price.
And it used to be called Anchor, and then Spotify bought it, so now it's just Spotify for podcasters. And now they just handle it all.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I heard of Anchor, but I didn't know Spotify bought them. That's interesting.
Yeah, they bought them a while ago. I think like a year ago, maybe.
I see Adobe starting to get into it too. Adobe has a beta right now for the Adobe Podcast beta.
Do they? I haven't seen that.
There's some free game. They have you don't even have to sign in to Adobe to use this. When you go to Adobe's website, there's a beta podcast, and there's actually an option to enhance your audio. And it shows a sample, but you can it can't differentiate between songs or podcasts. So for people that are in home studios, I tell them send your mic vocals, your raw vocals to this.
That's
hilarious. And it uses machine learning or AI or whatever to remove ambient noise, and then it gives you the file back, and it's all free. And so it does up to a 30-minute podcast. You can pay for like a subscription to have more, but it's a great tool for
that's awesome.
Home studio. Just upload the file, and then you get it back, and you just put it in the song, and you've got a little bit cleaner of a raw to work with.
How do you typically record your music? I mean, do you do it yourself? Like, do everything? Do you?
The world's changing. I recorded in my daughter's bedroom closet.
Yeah. That ain't the world changing. It's just getting a little easier in that situation to get it and still be quality.
Yeah, that was a. I had Push Freely Productions. He mixed and mastered it. For me. So is
that a local person or?
Yep.
Nice.
You can Google or Facebook and Push Freely. He's done a lot of work for probably a majority of the artists. Either him or Quincy Watson are the two that are really doing most of the music in the city, to be honest.
So funny story. Quincy Watson was one of my best friends in high school. His brother, Corey. So I was hanging out with him all the time.
That's awesome. He's been doing music forever. He's honestly
he's hilarious.
Great guy.
I haven't seen him for it's been a long time.
He's still got a studio in town. Is he
next to CDS still?
He's on Dirksen. Yeah. But no, great guy, great studio, great quality, and yeah, I mean, between him and Push, chances are if you're going to somebody in town for music, you're going to one of them because they both have legitimate setups and equipment. And they
Does
know
he
what they're
just
doing.
go by Quincy? Does he?
Frequency is his.
Frequency. That's
name.
right. I've heard that. Yeah.
So
perfect.
Most of my
Frequency.
work, most of my work is through Push Freely, and I have a couple songs with Quincy. I'm working on an album with Quincy now called The Eagle and the Hummingbird.
Nice.
And but yeah, that's honestly, chances are if you're a music artist in the city, you're going to one of those two people to record and actually clean up everything.
Yeah.
So
now, is he doing more than just like hip hop stuff, or?
He was doing a work for people even overseas in Europe. He had a couple people that were singers over in like Sweden or something that were sending him their stuff to mix and master because they didn't have to
get in touch with him. I haven't talked to him forever.
Yeah,
it's cool to check his studio out.
Yeah,
I've never seen a studio like all these years. I've never.
Oh
seen
man,
He'd be at home and we'd be hanging out and he'd be playing guitar, messing around. You know what I mean? And
his studio's
he was hilarious.
It's a real deal studio.
That's
it
cool.
is I mean, he's got full analog racks and a band room for bands to come in, and he's got his isolated booth. It's a legitimate studio.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they hit him up. That's awesome. So you've been doing this for 15 years, huh?
Yeah.
Did you like? I mean, I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this because I understand how it goes. Was there any point that you like started taking it more seriously than, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'd been making music generally for myself. I started playing piano and taught myself FL Studio. It was the only DAW I could like get an actual piano with and actually play piano. It was just something I wanted to do. Keep playing piano. I've been playing piano. Can't read sheet music, but I've been playing for a long time.
Yeah.
And the piano part turned into, I also want to start writing to it. Mm-hmm. And then I also want to start adding percussion to it. And before you know it, pretty soon you're making beats and you're writing songs and you're like, this has kind of evolved a little bit. But no, the when I actually started pulling the trigger, I was going through quite a bit of stuff. Had a relationship, marriage was falling apart, and we were doing everything we could to make it work, and just wasn't happening. There was basically kind of a big middle finger moment where you're like, we're going to do this. We're going to drop this album. We're actually going to start putting our time into it. And honestly, within the first year, it's just there were so many opportunities that opened up, and we did a live interview with Ken Pacha.
When was that about? What year would you guess?
The actual album released on my golden birthday, so in 2019 was Back to the Beginning, my first album on my golden birthday. And then that album, during that year, basically 2018, we started recording it, I believe. It dropped in 2019, but during the time after it dropped, I had an interview at the college radio on Hip Hop Hump Day with Ken Pacha, and honestly, just there's so much stuff that's evolved and so many great people I've met and stuff. It just exploded and became a absolute no-brainer, no regret decision to start doing that. So
that's awesome.
But yeah,
I used to be back in like, who would have been before that? But I was like when I was first starting to do like video and get into video. Actually, in college, what I first wanted to do, I was applying for internships, was to get an internship at like Sony or one of these big record labels and do graphic design for the record label for like album covers and stuff. Like that was what I thought would be awesome. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to do. And I applied at a bunch of places. One of them got back to me, and it was at like 8:30 a.m. in the morning. And I don't think I've told many people this, but I was out drinking, partying, you know what I mean, until like 3 or 4 a.m. And of course they call me at like 8:30 in the morning, and I like pick up. I'm like, hello, you know what I mean? And they're like, are basically giving me a mini interview on the spot. And I just totally screwed myself. It was terrible. I was like, gosh, dang it. I was like, oh, I blew that. I knew immediately too. They're like, this is Sony record or whatever, you know what I mean? And I was like, but everything happens for a reason, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I always thought that'd be cool. But then after that, anyway, I got like a video, you know, I started getting in, I was doing more video stuff, and I was like, oh, let's make some, you know, music videos. So I was kind of into the music scene quite a bit there for a couple years. My buddy had a little studio that people would come to, and yeah, it was fun.
It's a great time.
I love music, man. I've always been a huge hip hop fan too. I mean, that was like basically all I listened to for a long ass time. Now I listen to a much wider range of stuff. You know, I always like hated country, and like a few years ago I kind of got into it, and I was like, hey, man, this is pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mind this. I can appreciate it. I see, you know.
I definitely relate to you on that. I mean, some of the classics, Johnny Cash and John Denver, more folk type stuff I can get along with, but anymore I feel like there's so much music that's become so
crossover.
There's the crossovers sometimes are cool. I enjoy the creativity sometimes, but I feel like a lot of from a studio perspective, there's so much like almost an equation that's written out now, where now I can tell when I listen to it that you're using the same
chords. I feel like I've always been able to tell a little bit. Not so much like this is the same chords, but like when I hear a song or somebody, I'm kind of like,
you can hear the equation.
Well, I just know like, yeah, that's probably going to be a hit. And I see how these like huge producers can put out hits, like hit after hit with like, you know, what's the Jewish dude with the fro that works with like Miley Cyrus, like Justin Bieber. He did that show with Little Dicky.
I know Little Dicky show, Dave.
Dave. But who is the producer in it with him that's like friends with? I think they are actually friends in real life. God, I can't think of that guy's name. He's put out like 80 top number one songs or something crazy. You know what I mean?
And there's a formula. It's like
you can. They just know. You
Rick
know?
Rubin's the same way, but I like Rick Rubin because he's more of this creative, almost like a guru, where he just has these weird things that he'll tell people to do. But like if you Google his credits, he's got credits with Johnny Cash, Metallica, hip hop artists. I mean, he's all over the board. Like name a group, and he's Slayer. He's like his credit list goes on forever. But System of a Down, Chop Suey.
Yeah.
The part of the song where he says it's almost like a prayer where he says, "Why have you forsaken me?" That none of that was written. He was in Rick Rubin's library when they were recording that, and he told him to go. He told me he didn't know what to write. He said, "Go pick a book off the shelf and open it up on a page and put your finger somewhere on it, and that's what we're going to use for your bass line of your lyrics." And it was "Why have you forsaken?" Like this really deep, religious, poetic type.
That's crazy.
I don't know what book he opened up, but I'm curious because it was a pretty big turn for that song.
That is interesting.
Iconic.
It's so growing up, my dad is huge into music. You know, he was like in the 60s, 70s, loved like rock and roll, Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? He would go to concerts like Janis Joplin. He got to go see all these people in concert. But when we were kids on road trips, we road tripped everywhere. We never flew. We didn't have money to fly. And plus, my dad hated to fly. So it was driving everywhere, whether it was 48 hours or 24 hours or whatever it is. We were always driving, no stops.
I feel that.
But he'd always be like, all right, I'll give you $1 if you name the artist. I'll give you $2 if you name the artist in the song or something. You know what I mean? He would play these games in the car with us, and I was terrible at it. My brother, I'm much younger than my brother and sister, so my sister especially got pretty good at it. So she was always taking him for a bunch of money on car rides. But he would always, what I was getting at is he always he would know the name of the song, the artist, within you know what I mean, immediately, and then he would tell you something crazy about them, you know, or a story of him seeing them, or you know, and it was always just like, damn, I feel like you should have got involved in music there, Dad. How passionate he was about it, you know.
Yeah, it's a hard decision. There's a lot of shows that I do. When you get off stage, there's people that are talking to you, and I've heard so many times from people who could be, they're not performing, but they could be so talented, but they're like, I just can't get on the stage.
Yeah,
and that's
got to be hard.
I mean, that's the part that probably is the most common factor in terms of people. Like when you get someone who said you did a great job, and they're like, I make music too, and they start talking about it, and you're like, well, what do you make? What are you? Why are you performing? And they're like, no, I can't get on the stage. Yeah. And it's like, that's a huge line to cross. But it's hard to get up there, especially with your own written material and your own music and your own. I mean,
you're not just for music. Anytime you got to get up and get in front of a bunch of people. Like, I've done some speaking. I've been hired to do some keynote speaking, and The first one I did, I was like, oh God, how am I going to do this? And I had one of my team record it, and I was like, oh my God, that was terrible. Now everybody there told me it was great, but you know, when you record it and watch it back, I'm like, I say I keep saying
sure.
you know. So it's like
habits.
Yeah, it was.
I have the same one.
So then the next time I did it, I was able to cut it away a little bit, and I cut some of that out and streamline like my talk a little bit more, and yeah, it was a lot better.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
You always got to be working at it.
Yeah, the recording though. Have you ever done that? Any of your shows had someone record it so you could
I've
analyze what's going on?
Yeah, I've had most of my shows. I have video recordings of.
That's good.
From either friends who attended, or I'll have a photographer, videographer come in and have it for content.
Mm-hmm.
But the probably the biggest thing with the shows is that I don't record or I don't perform over my backing vocals, which is odd for the genre. Most of the time when you go to shows, there's hardly everyone is performing with over their vocals.
For sure.
So that adds a layer of there's times where you'll record the show I just did in Minnesota a month or so ago, about a month or two ago. I performed the song "Limitless," and when I first started, I was able to pick it up. And no one noticed. Even my friends who'd heard the song before didn't notice. But I flipped the verses. And so when I started the song, I started it with the second verse and then just rolled with it. We're rolling with it, and we're going to hit the hook, and we're going to flip-flop, and we're going to be good. But when you record those are like the fun. To me, they're fun to look back on and be like, okay, we recovered, we fumbled, but you still got to perform it, and you at least were able to pick it up to where it was fairly smooth for everyone who was there.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be a tough thing to keep going with. Like just in your head, you're like, oh God, I'm on the wrong verse. I'm on the wrong verse, but you're still trying to
rewire. Here we go.
So did the song still flow fine?
Oh, yeah,
like as far as what the lyrics were, you know what I mean?
Picked it up.
Yeah.
It's not as powerful as an impact, but I mean a lot of my songs and my albums are straight through. So there's a reason why it's song 1, song 2. I take a lot of time into thinking about track order and song order. So that part got a little, miss a little bit of the impact of the first verse versus the second, but other than that, I mean, it still went pretty smooth. But so those little fun moments are the fun parts you're talking about recording, where you're like, if you listen to my song, you'll definitely tell the difference because we screwed that up.
Know who's a true fan. Sir, you messed up your own song.
Yep.
Have you done many shows?
Probably. I mean, over now it's over a dozen by now, but I mean, yeah, it's been. I kind of pop in and out, and I'm coming off of like almost a 2-year hiatus. So I dropped The World's Changing in 2022 October, and I haven't released almost any new music up until this year. I finally dropped a local collaboration album called Artist Home. It's a bunch of features with local artists.
Is that the one that looked like you just put up on YouTube? Recently.
Yep. It's on YouTube. It's also free to download on my Bandcamp. But the album is basically a bunch of since I started, my first feature was actually Junior Presari, TJ Bird. We had a song called Broken Girl, Broken Glass, and it kind of started with the list of features where you get in a studio session and people start vibing out, and then they just jump on a track together. And I always had beats ready I could send to somebody, so I had we would basically have all these collaborations of songs that we'd made over the years, and a lot of them are really good, and it's kind of like it's selfish to kind of just sit there and they're all mine and no one else can listen to them. So it's like, we're going to actually, put some effort in this. So, we want to make this, we want to share it. We want to kind of put everyone on a highlight. It wasn't meant to be selfish, but I was supposed to drop it 2 years ago and kind of just a bunch of stuff happened, fumbled that. So I made it up to everybody this year, and got a bunch of music visualizers and put it all on YouTube, and it looks really good. And tried to,
that's cool.
So.
Yeah, no, I was looking at some of those. Yeah, I liked the visualizers with it. How'd you do those? Because some of them definitely had like the music, like movement with the music in it, whether it's the equalizer or whatever.
There's a website called Video Bolt. You can get it gives you a bunch of options to customize music visualizers. There's a bunch of default videos for like intros or something, but their music visualizers have pretty good customizability, and they have a browser-based video editor that you can pair your lyrics with it, so you have the option to make an actual lyric video for Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But
I figured there's probably something like that. I see them, you know what I mean? I've just never like had to look into it for any reason. So
a lot of them are really cool.
Because you see a lot of people like with this podcast, for example, like there's a lot of people that don't film their podcasts, but they still want to post the video, so they just post like a graphic, but it has like the equalizer going up and down while they're talking, you know. So I've never really looked into it, but it's probably the same type of thing.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Video Bolt.
Video Bolt.
I think it's not a software that you download on your computer. It's completely browser based, similar to Pixel or whatever.
We're giving everybody all the secret software, baby.
I'm full transparent. If people,
teaching you how to put your music out right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool software, but that and Adobe Express are the two big ones that are just game changers for artists.
So the people you had on it, are they just all people you know that you've done music with before, or
some of them are people I just met in the studio and we were just vibing out. We jumped on a song together, or
nice.
you know. So and then we got to know each other over time. But like me, City FME is on it. Sunny Beans. We're actually, me and Ryan were talking about this earlier. Sunny changes his name every other week. He's got so Sunny, whatever you're called, Sunny Fog, Sunny Beans, Sunny whatever. I got a song.
His branding is off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was him.
Adaptive branding, something like that. Sunny something.
Yeah.
Sunny Fogs, I think, is what he was going. Or Sunny Bean was when we did Grandfather Clock. But yeah, TJ Bird's on it. I mean, Dez is on it. She's a phenomenal singer. We've got 36 and Brimstone's on it. We have a bunch of big local names, artist names in hip hop and in singing that are on the album. So I'm looking to make a second one. I'd like to just keep it going. It's just it's awesome. I love making the art with people and actually spending the time to do that. So for me, it's if I can make the instrumental and I think you'd sound good on it and I reach out to you, there's no charge for the feature. It's like it's
gotta be it's gotta help you too, just creatively and motivationally. Like you got someone to collaborate with, and
I just think everyone approaches art a different way. You know, you in a studio, you've got some people who record a session a line at a time. I've sat through studio sessions where someone records a line at a time and they cut after every single line, and they put it all together and it sounds great. And then there's some people like myself where I tell the guy, like, press record and then don't stop until I wave you them done, and whatever happens happens. And sometimes magic happens and sometimes you go back and do a second take, but you know, that's kind of
the line by line thing's interesting. When I first when my buddy had a studio, and I remember like some people did that, and I was like, this is really how people record music? Like some people, like it seems so terrible, like in the moment, you know what I mean? But
at first you're like, okay, what is happening? But then after they get it, really what their goal is to get the best line for line take for the entire song,
which I can understand.
Yeah, after they're done and you get to hear it, you're like, makes total sense. I like to, and it's also preference, an artist's preference. I like to almost more old school hip hop at it, where you're just emceeing it straight through and whatever happens happens. And sometimes, like in Lonely in LA 1, when I went out to LA 3 years ago to record Waves, it turned into an album, which is actually where I got this hat. The Lonely in LA, when we were recording at Push Freely's place, he's got a dog called Billy Bob. He's a little celebrity German Shepherd. He's a funny dog. But in the background, in my verse on Far Away From Home featuring Kate, who's a local singer and producer here, I have a couple lines about dogs in my like stray dogs free from the pound, and you know, Billy Bob was barking in the next room as we're recording it, and I look over and he's upset, like, because he's ruining the recording session, and I'm like, you know, waving him like, just, you know, keep going,
giving you the
it's
free ad libs.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, keep going, and he didn't hear it yet. He didn't understand what I was doing, and when I was done, I was like, that's the take, and he's like, what do you mean? And we nailed the take. Everything was good, and when he played it back in the background, you hear Billy Bob barking exactly at the times that I mentioned dogs in my lines. I'm like, I just have to add him as a feature. You have to cut him in on some royalties.
The good free ad libs there.
Yeah.
The ad libs were another thing that was always weird.
That's
like when going back, you're like, yeah, boo. Like, you know, it's like, oh, that's what's going on there. Let's go back and say little things over.
That took me a little bit to get that took me a little bit to jump on that bandwagon. I think my first 2 albums I did not do that, and ended up coming back around to do that after I started seeing more and more benefit to it. Had talks with Agent Orange and Dirty Diggs. We have some songs together. They were on the first track of Lonely in L.A., and we have a few other songs together. I don't know if Diggs has released them yet. He may be being selfish with them right now. We may have to release those because they're pretty
Diggs,
good. But
I think he was one of the guys that used to come to my buddy's studio. Pretty sure.
Probably. Dirty Diggs and Agent Orange.
He does. His style is like a little. He like raps deep, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's him.
That's Diggs.
Yeah. Yeah. Geez, I haven't thought about that for a while.
But yeah, we have a couple songs together. But yeah, I mean that was.
Agent Orange was always good. What was the show he went on? He went on one of the rap battle shows, didn't he?
106 in Park.
That's
on
right.
BET. And
he was on that for a while, wasn't he?
Yep. He got second place, I think, in that.
Yeah.
But it was actually really funny. But I got kicked out of Bar None when I was 18 because I was trying to get in there to see him, and they'd already it was past curfew at that point. It was Torch Tuesdays. I actually got kicked out. I think I got kicked out. I think I know who kicked me out too, but I don't remember. I don't know if they worked there or not. But face looked familiar, and I brought it up with him later on. I was like, I think you kicked me out,
bro. Yeah.
But the guy asked me what I wanted to drink, and I said water, and he's like, "Let me see your ID." I was like, "Come on, dude! Like, you just served me water. I asked for water. It's not like I'm asking for whiskey or something,
If you would ask for beer, he probably wouldn't have carded you.
Right. And then you're like, well, should I just, But I joked around with Agent Orange.
You ain't making me no money in here drinking water.
Yep. So Agent Orange, we had a conversation a couple of years ago where I was cracking up, and I was like, this is full circle because now I'm on a track with you, and I got kicked out trying to see you. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, he was always good. Do you ever do like anything like that that's more freestyle, like off the top type stuff? It's hard. It's hard to do.
The freestyling for me, it comes more in free writing. Like I'm way better of a free writer than I am a freestyler. But for me, it's always been like penmanship off the top of my head, writing a song. I use my phone. I use notes to write my music. I'm one of these weird ones that I like to visually see it, and I can't read my own handwriting half the time. So.
I feel you there.
So
my handwriting's terrible.
We adapt and overcome.
Growing up, they're like, you have to know how to write in cursive. Otherwise, you're not going to get to go to college. You know what I mean? They try to push you to write in cursive.
And then you come up with this shorthand.
And then, like, nobody gives a shit about cursive. So I have this mixture of, like, cursive and regular
And you're
writing.
just like, I can't read this if I wake up tomorrow.
You just jacked me up more than if I would have just gone the regular way. Crazy.
It's funny. But, yeah, no, I use my phone. But I do a lot of free writing where a lot of songs, like there's been studio sessions where I'll write my verse in 5, 10, 15 minutes, and we'll record it, and the song's done. And it's like, so in that regard, it's a little better, but not so much freestyle.
Do you so I didn't have a chance to look on like all platforms. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. Do you utilize obviously TikTok has been huge for artists. Do you utilize TikTok at all? I've
been steering away from TikTok. I started there okay, but honestly, I've had way more interactions and engagements on Instagram than I have on TikTok. On Instagram, Yellow Wolf was following me for a while on Instagram, like almost 2 years. And I've had a bunch of interactions with Michelle Pac-Man. She's a cello artist. She actually just did cello for Miley at the Grammys. She was behind in the stage with the group doing live sound. And I've had all these connections with artists on Instagram that I've had way more luck personally, just more opportunity and luck on that platform than I have on TikTok. I tried TikTok for a bit, but it ended up being just so much I don't know, there's so much, it was almost like it was bloated at the time. I mean, this was a year or two ago, I think, before it really started seeing its peak. But like I think over the last year or two, especially with them talking about selling now, they're being forced to either sell or shut down, that it's going to create a hole for another app to come in and take that business away.
Yeah. Was that final? I feel like that's not 100% final yet.
I think it was final. I think they had a year.
Well, they passed something, and then I think they were like, what did you say?
I think I have to still go to one more level. I think it was
Yeah, I had to pass one more thing or something. I don't think it's 100% final yet.
I think,
but they've been trying to do it. That's for damn sure.
I think the last I read that they had a year to sell the American version of or the American CEO of TikTok had a year to sell it or franchise it out. But part of what I'm wondering is if honestly it's not an information grab more than, because how many other social medias have been there, but TikTok, I guess their terms of use, they give them the terms of use is pretty steep on what you give them access to when you use it. And I'm almost wondering if they're trying to make TikTok do that to buy everybody's information, because if I force you to sell TikTok and I buy it,
well, yeah. Yeah.
Then I've got everyone's information.
I mean, not to get political, but
sure.
having something that's very, very popular with a lot of young kids and being able to utilize that to influence them how you want to for a whatever political party.
Sure. Or business. I mean, anything in general.
Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah, they talk about selling out stuff.
I mean, you look at like what's happened with Twitter, like when they pull up the old Twitter files and the stuff that was being censored is crazy. It was the government censoring, and there's nothing that's happened about it. But now it's just free speech. Like we get on one of our pages, we get hit on every other platform all the time for dumb stuff. Like, and on Twitter, it literally is free, so we just call it uncensored on there now. Yeah, like if you want to go see the uncensored stuff, go over to X. I'm calling it Twitter just because that's what people know. But I don't know. It's so hard for me to imagine that other platforms wouldn't go that route. I mean, I guess I get it, but
Spotify is having a deal right now where if a bot watches your song or listens to your song, regardless if you paid for it or not, they hit you with a ding, and after so many, they give you a warning, and then they remove your song from Spotify. But the problem is that if
somebody just get you removed then?
You're exactly where I went. Is like
if
I'm not buying views, but a bot is listening to my music for whatever reason, whether it's AI or learning or a bot,
maybe it's a percentage,
and they hit you and remove songs. But I've had friends who don't pay for views, and they had a song with like 200,000 views removed. And so it's like, okay. And then I've had other friends who've had songs that have been on there for years and that just got removed. And they're like, and they had to actually go to Spotify support and appeal it. And they had to go back and forth and prove
That's
blah, blah. And then they released it again. And it's like, so at this point, I'm actually watching Bandcamp. Bandcamp's absorbing the market right now, where they're doing free streaming. You can set up your albums, all your content to free stream. You can sell albums, you can sell merch, you can set your tour dates, you can set everything on Bandcamp. So Bandcamp originally used to not be streaming. You could just go there and see what albums they had and buy them and download them. But now that they're offering streaming of your artists, and you can, it basically now it's almost iTunes, but you're also able to see their tour dates, buy merch. Cool. So it's a whole store.
What about what was the website called? What was the website that was kind of like that like Post Malone blew up on?
I know that.
I keep thinking of all these stock audio websites that are probably that we use for videos. God, what was it called? Soundstream? Is that it? No.
There's Vimeo or Video.
It's not like a video one. It was strictly for music. It was like a music website. God, I can't.
A long time ago, it was Playlist.com. That was early. It was so popular early MySpace days.
It was what Post Malone originally blew up on. He shared White Iverson on there, and then SoundCloud.
Oh, SoundCloud's still kicking.
Yeah,
I
haven't been on that forever. I haven't heard anything about SoundCloud forever.
They kind of in my opinion, they kind of slipped away. I stopped watching people put music on there, and then they started slapping everything with copyright. So then that kind of started killing the mixtape, because originally it was almost like a Dat Piff, where everyone was just dumping music there, and you could go there and listen, and some of them were downloading or whatever.
Awesome.
But then they started hitting everybody with copyrights. Even public, so Yo Gotti recently, he's a big rapper, he put out a instrumental and a verse for free. He literally has a video on his Instagram saying,
add a verse to it,
saying this is a completely free to use song, I'm giving you the rights to it. Video disclosure, like it's yours. And everyone tried to take it and upload it to SoundCloud, and they block them all. And you could even link them the video and be like, he literally is giving everyone free use of it. And they're
That's
like,
what Russ
"Nah,
did.
don't care."
Russ did that with the what song was it? I don't know. He did it with one of his songs, and this girl, he's like, submit your, submission to basically be on the song, and then a girl ended up winning it, and she got on the song with them and blew up on TikTok, and I think she even got like a record deal from him or something. I don't remember exactly how it played out, but I know she started having her own songs and stuff, and yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and to anybody else who submitted their song, they could still take the song and put it on SoundCloud to say, hey, I'm on a song with so-and-so. That was like the whole point was it's free copyright. I'm just giving you a song to be on it, and whoever wins actually can come record it, or whatever with me.
A great marketing thing for an artist like that.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you are like semi-famous or, you know what I mean, trying to really build it up and get your song out there. Like, you have a solid verse and, for it, and maybe a hook, and you just were looking to get people to do it. Because, I mean, you got to think like thousands of people making it and posting it and making it and posting it. And
it's hard, but remixes have kind of changed. I mean, that's a huge marketing play. You're seeing a lot of producers say remix this, and they'll have a video with their beat, and they're not giving it away, but by remixing the video, they give you an open verse, and you can kind of record a video of you spitting your verse on the remix, and then they can you both get to use that as marketing because he's on your video and you're on his video, so it kind of just blows both of you up essentially. It's a huge tool.
Yeah, if I was doing music, I would do that all day. I'd be like picking everybody.
You don't have to pay for beats or anything.
I'd be picking any artist that's trying to do that. I'd be like, all right, here we go. I'm doing this one today. I'm doing this one today. It's I think personally, when I look at myself, if I was an artist from a business strategic marketing standpoint, that I think would be huge. Those are just like whenever the opportunity arises, like you got to take advantage of it. TikTok still, like, you'd have to do it a little more strategically than if you would have just got on it from the beginning. But I think like finding people, like, depending on what kind of money you have, finding a small, like someone maybe 10,000 followers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and getting them to do like a challenge or something, or do something with your song, like like you have a song that solid, you're like, this is it, like the equation we're talking about, inside that like this could be a hit. Picking that piece, like, hey, here's what would it take for you to do a little dance for this song and post it, you know what I mean? And just and maybe you got to pay him $1,500, but and again, it's all obviously, if you got to pay, that's all about if you got the money to do it. Yeah. But if you do that with enough people and they get on that trend or whatever, keep using that song, all it takes is a couple to the right ones to set it off, if you strategically pick those people. And then all of a sudden, like that dude, God, I can't remember anyone's freaking names today. The wolf, the not Gravity Glide. He sings Gravity Gliding, but the guy that sings that, it's like not Beowulf. It's what the hell is that guy's name? It's like one of the most popular songs with the freaking kids. It's Masked Wolf. Yeah. He what was his song? Hold on. I can't play any music by him because I'll get freaking. What was the dude? Benny Blanco was the producer that I was talking about. That's who it was, yeah. I'm trying to find this song. I can't. So, Astronaut in the Ocean. You remember that song? I feel like an astronaut in the ocean or something like that. Yeah. That dude, I saw like his like revenue from Spotify, and it was like compared to his TikTok following. And as his TikTok, like when that popped off, shit went through the roof on Spotify, like his revenue. And it was like, I was like, holy shit, like that's all it takes is one song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anymore with social media, that's what you're waiting on. You're waiting on you're almost playing, I compare it on one of my albums, Casino Cheetah. I compare it to Reels is like gambling almost. You put a quarter in, you put a song out there, and you're going to see if it hits. You're going to see if you hit. You're going to see if you hit. There's a little more strategy to it than that, especially with websites like Fiverr and websites like Upwork. You can literally pay. There are influencers on there who have a TikTok following, and you can literally pay them to do a dance to the song for X amount of money, or come up with a dance for song X amount of money. And some of them are going to cost a couple $100, but like you said, you're getting organic publicity because the people following them are following them for a reason. And if
I've never looked at them on there.
Yeah,
I feel like the only thing I'd worry about there. What do they do? I know some influencers, the ones you've seen, some of them say they'll leave it up for a certain number of days.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people don't leave it up.
Yeah, you got to really work on your terms and conditions, because you can say social media marketing, and that is, that's vague. You could say make a post, and then some of them will charge you per post, what times you post, because there's hot times.
Yeah, I remember seeing one. I was working on a deal, I think, and it was like it said they would leave it up for 5 days, and then they'd take it down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's kind of funny. They're like not leaving it up. But yeah, I feel like if done right there, if you found the right people, I don't know. It just, and again, I've never tried to do that. It just seems like something that you could get a song to blow up if it, it's got to be a good hit. Got to have that little.
There's some marketing for sure.
15-second clip that people are going to connect with and be like, want to do something to,
Yeah, there's a sound production. As much as people like to say it's about gear and stuff, there's a limit to that, because we up in Minnesota last year I actually got included on a punk rock song. It turned out phenomenal, but it was my first shot at making a punk song. But we were in a multi-million-dollar Billboard 100 studio up in Minnesota. It's called Carpet Booth Studios. Shout out to Carpet Booth. They're awesome. They've got so much in their room, it's crazy. If you want to see it, you can go to their Instagram page.
Carpet Booth.
They've got photos on the wall of everybody who's come in there. You can find big artists who have been in there, who've recorded there. It's a really great studio. But they've got like the best of the best. Full analog racks. They're doing everything legitimately. And we recorded our raw vocals there. We didn't have anyone mix it and master it yet. And we had this punk song with 4 different people on it, myself included. And even with the best of the best gear, the raw sounded amazing. We were like, this is great. But we all chipped in and sent it to a multi-platinum master, Joseph Chuddick. Maybe Chudik. I think it's Chuddick. Sorry, Joe, if I mispronounced your name. But he's a multi-platinum master, and he mastered our song, and it made our song look like it was garbage.
Really?
And it was like we just recorded the song
just
and like
sounded
the
too
best
good.
of the best. I can play the raw and the after for you. It is beyond noticeable. You were like,
is it because
mind blown?
Do you think it's because it was a punk song and he made it sound too clean or something, or what was?
I think that there's some science behind. He's basically going through every individual instrument and he's fine tuning it, and he's looking at the frequency, basically the whole spectrum of the song sonically, and is looking at, where's the sweet spot for every single instrument and their vocals, and who's softer than who's louder, and he's manually going through these and adding
but it sounded
effects
worse.
or no, it sounded better. It was night and day better than the raw.
When he was done with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he was done,
I thought you were saying it was worse.
No, it was amazing. He blew it out of the water.
Backwards.
It was just like, it just blew your mind that you recorded it in the best of the best. Studio that you possibly could have. In terms of equipment, I'm sure there's studios that you could, probably book for an insane amount of money that are slightly better, but they're running everything legitimate, full analog, like I said, name brand equipment, everything's there, and
what's it cost to book time in a place like this?
It starts at $100 an hour, and it's not, to me, that's a deal for what they're offering, but
with for like a person in there.
Person in there is there. They're not mixing, mastering. They're literally pressing record and telling you what takes good and what takes bad. Yeah, really. But the some of them, most of them are university graduated music. Most of them are at least.
But they're just probably people trying to put some time in.
They do have engineers there who have years of experience that are behind the counter. We had a 10-hour session that day. And we had a guy behind the booth who was, he had years of doing it, and
Really, at $100 an hour?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
a full band room. Like you pick your drum set, pick your guitar, pick your piano. There's 3 different pianos in the room.
I would think like
It's a
with
huge-
somebody with that much experience, yeah, it would be much more than that.
And yeah, for the money, I think it was a steal. I mean, just to be honest, but I know
Don't
that
raise
may
your
seem
prices.
expensive, but yeah, we'll see if they raise their prices after the interview. But I think it's a steal of a deal, honestly, for just quality of recording. But it was just shocking to me that even in that kind of an environment where everything is professionally treated and you're using gear like that someone could mix and master that song and make it sound like yours was
good,
just,
yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
record it. The difference is so night and day. It's just ridiculous. And you're like, that's actually what made the song the song. So now you're like, well, does it matter if I record with semi-okay gear if I'm paying someone, $500 to master this song?
Right.
And he does that good of a job. How much does this matter?
Well, who was it that just who was the hip hop artist that just released a new album? Like, I guess it's
Yellow
not new
Wolf.
now.
Dropped War Story recently.
No, it was. Anyway, it was like probably 5 or 6 months ago. I guess it wasn't recently, but it was all recorded and edited in like Apple Music or something, or recorded in Apple Music. He said with like a laptop microphone, not like the one built into the laptop, but just like a USB microphone. God,
I believe it. Some people that can mix and master. I mean, you talk about Billie Eilish. Her brother is he is one of the best sound engineers, just period. So you wonder, like, yeah, there's stories of Billie Eilish recording her big breakout album in her bedroom closet or something like that. And it makes sense when you realize that, yes, you record it in your bedroom closet, but your brother is also like one of the best sound engineers in possibly the world. So you got a little bit of a leg up.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
But
because I think, even when like video production world, like sometimes you get stuck in this, like, oh, I need to buy a better piece of equipment. I need to buy this. It's better.
Oh,
like the
right.
new thing
You get
comes
stuck in
out.
gear phase.
Yeah.
And especially when you start seeing the tally add up, like even next month I'm going to Hollywood to record my next album, Lonely in LA 2, and I'm recording with a named producer, Tasty. He's done work for Yellow Wolf and Caskey and a bunch of big rappers, and that album is it's going to be just crazy different. I'd be shocked if anyone can come close to what it's going to end up being in the last like 20 years, just in terms of a project. There's a side A and a side B. Each one's sonically different. They both tell a similar story. They tie together. And so it's going to be almost an old vinyl record type deal where you can flip it over and you have a totally different sound, a totally different vibe, but the story is a different perspective, but the same. It's going to be a great album, but when you start adding up the tally, though, of what it costs to make an album, especially in rap, I mean, I'm making all of my instrumentals sampled or unsampled. I'm making all of my instrumentals, and even then, I mean, you're talking about like our single we had that was a punk rock single. It cost $500 to have that mixed and mastered. So you're talking about that's one song. Mm-hmm. So if you want to have that type of quality, I'm gonna drop $10,000 easy on making this album, and that's me not even buying the beats to. That's me making them and going to the studio, record them out at $100 an hour, and then me turn around and going to someone to the album's 12 tracks. That's $6,000 if I decided to have them mix and master that. So now we're talking, it takes 20, 30 hours maybe to record the album and actually sit there and have everything, mix and master and be part of that process of I want to hear more of this, I don't want to hear more of that. And you're paying for it all the time. So it's $10,000 easy. And that's before you get into marketing. It's before you get into, so.
Well, shit, man, if you're investing that much money into the album, I hope you come up with a strong plan of distributing it or getting exposure on it.
That's the key.
That's like, with clients, a lot of times they want us to like make videos or something. And sometimes they don't want to spend the budget on the actual ads to run on the videos. And what I always say is like, look, like you're spending the money to make this nice thing, like to help you make awesome content, but then no one's going to see it because you don't want to spend the money to run ads on it.
Yeah.
So like, don't let it go to waste. Like put some good budget towards the actual ad spend, and let's make sure this is seen by people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the similar situation.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's something where then you have to decide on if you want to go to that level. How much does, to your point, how much does it mean to you, or what are your expected results of it?
What do you want to do? Do you just want to get it out there
right,
just because you enjoy
it?
If
I
I
decide not to pay those people to mix and master it, I'm not going to have their names attached to it and have that type of quality, but the album will be out. So is it,
You know what I do on Spotify a lot more than I used to, because I realized it was there, the information was there, but just opening up songs and see who were like writers on it, or you know what I mean, like
you won't go down a rabbit hole.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Most people, that when you get ghostwriter credits and you get honestly, something I was just talking about the other day is raw files. Most people never get to hear the studio raw files, and sometimes it's shocking listening to raw files and what they sounded like before and what they sounded like at the studio finished product. And sometimes it's so night and day different that you're just like,
imagine
the song doesn't even sound I don't even know who's on the song anymore.
I know. I think about an artist like Post Malone. I'm like, this stuff, there is no way that this sounds good, man. Like, and I like Post Malone, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, this dude's smoking cigarettes. I watched an interview. He said he does like, I think he said like 5 packs a day.
That's wild.
That's something. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is not going to live a long time. But, his voice, I'm like, there's no way when he's doing this, it sounds good.
I mean, it would be extremely shocking. And honestly, the Post Malone, he's a really good guy, but the musical process he has is strange. I was talking with somebody who's produced music with him at the Future of Artists Summit in Orlando, and he said that he likes to pull up to the studio in a van, and they'll basically drive around L.A. and listen to 70s rock music, and if he gets inspired, he'll make it to circle back to the studio, and they'll both get out and make the song together.
I could see that.
And so it was pretty funny, but I mean, basically when you get those studios, you get the people that are engineering that stuff, you're going to have that night and day difference where you listen to the raw and you're like,
dude's just driving around smoking cigs, man.
There's no way.
That's why he goes through 5 packs. He's in the damn van trying to get inspiration, just burning the freaking
midnight oil.
I could see that though. I feel like that's something I would do, or you know what I mean, or sit there and hang out and listen to music and try to get inspired. But I like the driving thing. That's cool.
It's fun. Old school. What
was the other thing? Oh, I read he said one time in an interview that I saw that he basically writes all of his music on the toilet.
Everyone has a place. Everyone has a place.
Writing his music.
That's hilarious.
Craziness.
It's funny because everyone has a process. Everyone has a place they go. You'll watch, like, if you've ever seen. I know this is coined, but there's stories of Jay-Z that he never wrote anything down, and there's stories where they play a beat and he says, "I like this one, keep playing it," and then he literally sits there and like hums back to himself.
That's Lil Wayne. I don't think writes.
Yeah, he just sits there and hums. And then after about 15, 20, 30 minutes, he's like, "I'm ready."
I think I've heard that before.
Okay. And he gets in the booth and drops a full verse with a hook and a verse. And you're just like, you didn't write any of this down. So, I pray you.
I think that's what Lil Wayne does. I don't think he writes. I'm pretty sure.
I've heard stories of I want to say one of his albums where he freestyled 16s and then told the engineer to mix and match whichever one sounded the best. Yeah. That could be a rumor, but I remember hearing that story somewhere.
I remember like one video I watched was like someone going around with him, one of his videographers or something, and he's like he carries basically a studio with him. So like in the hotel room you just set up. Now obviously this was back in the day. I don't know how much he does anymore, but you just set up like a little studio in the hotel room, and whenever he's ready to go.
He's ready.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even if you got a demo studio, just something to keep the creative work going.
Well, it's interesting with creativity because if you don't act on it in the moment when you're feeling it and ready, like you almost lose it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's never the same, and it's hard. Like that's one thing that's been hard with me is, I'm just busy. I have family, kids, like, and sometimes I'll be with my family and I have an idea or something, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to go do this right. You know what I mean? I want to go do this, or I want to film this, or I wish I had my drone, or you know what I mean? It's like, damn it. And then, you know, it's like, well, missed that one, and it just sucks.
Yeah. It's hard capturing those moments. It's really, musically, it's like, it's something that I tried to capture when the first Lonely in LA album we made 3 years ago during the pandemic. And they had a curfew in LA of 10 p.m. and everything closed at 10 p.m. It was something out of a movie. There were crowds, thousands of people walking back to their houses or their hotels. The streets were full. You couldn't get through if you had a car or whatever. Yeah. And everything closed at 10 p.m. The beach closed, the bars closed, liquor stores closed. Everything closed at 10 p.m. And so capturing that moment musically through details of things that you saw or something, that's what I think kind of most of my projects are like that in terms of capturing that, trying to capture that moment or capturing it the best I can while you're there, seeing it, writing lyrics, you know, even as you're walking in the crowd, writing lyrics or ideas to song. This is the second song. I want it to be about this. I want it to be, you know, this is what we're seeing right now. This is what, and just trying to at least even take notes of, hey, this is what's happening. Keep the thought. And so you can come back to it and be like, oh yeah, I remember writing this down. Yeah. We were in the middle of a crowd of people, and you know.
I heard, I was listening to I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast one time, and he talked about how sometimes he'll be with his family and he'll just like run off all of a sudden. And basically it's when he has an idea for a joke or something and they just know like basically what he's doing. Like he had an idea, he has to go get his thoughts out or he loses it. And I was like,
and you really will lose it. I mean, you really will. It goes that fast. And I mean, even the motivation, like there's, you know, like I said, I'm coming off a 2-year hiatus. There's music that I sat on for, you know, how long, and now the theme has changed, or now the perspective has changed, or now, you know, maybe you were writing a song in a tough time, but times have gotten better. That angst, that energy, that aggression isn't there anymore. Yeah. So now you go to record it, and it's just not naturally, it doesn't naturally vibe with you. So you have a choice of, am I going to try to force this out, or am I going to, do I have a marker of matching that energy, or am I going to wait and sit on that until the next time I encounter hard times and then come back to it with that energy and see if I can.
Do you have any songs that you've put out on like any of your social or YouTube or whatever that you've had out for a little while, or maybe even years, and then deleted?
No, there was a couple albums I did as promos. One of them I'm 50-50 on because it was just, I made the whole album in a night. It was a 6-track mixtape type deal. I made all the beats, then recorded it all in one night. It was called NGFL, and it's free to download on my Bandcamp. I don't even charge for it. It's pretty much a toxic breakdown after some relationship trouble. It's kind of just a toxic waste dump. And
I was just curious because sometimes I have like old videos or something. I'm like, should I just delete that? Or you know what I mean? Like maybe I don't even want any of that on there. So I was just curious if you ever think about that or run it. I've done it.
I think about it, but I think. So there was a story that some of Ritz's earlier music. Ritz is a big rapper. There was for a while he deleted some of his early music on Spotify, and even though my first album, Back to the Beginning, is I would say more energy oriented than lyrical skill or prowess, is my first album. You know, kind of getting my feet wet, so to speak, but. It's still, if you go to each album and see when it was released, you can see the growth over time. And to me, that's inspiring for people because...
that's kind of how I thought about it. I was like, oh, that's just old shit, you know?
Right. And even on my YouTube...
People have to be able to recognize, like, oh, this video was uploaded 10 years
ago.
Right.
You hope, right? Yeah. Like, Taylor looks, you know, I've got a video of me playing piano, actually, where a lot of my instrumentals early on started was on piano. And I've got videos of me playing piano from like 10-something years ago on my YouTube, and I left them there so you can literally see some of the instrumentals that were on Back to the Beginning 10 years ago that I was playing on piano.
Yeah.
You know, then. So I think it's cool for some people to see the growth where they don't just see. It's easy, especially in social media days, to showcase the flashy and this is what I'm doing now and look at all this great stuff. But seeing the work where you can go back and listen to how I sounded 5 years ago, and you can go back and listen to the album after that, Lonely in LA, and you can go listen to how I sounded, and the world's changing. The tone of all of them is going to be completely different. Yeah. You're going to see the growth and actually be able to hear it. And to someone who's like, okay, yeah, I mean, you grow over time. That's absolutely true. The more you do it, the more you're going to get better at it, the more confident you're going to get in it, the more easily you're going to be able to, think of ideas or think of things to write. It's just practice. You just keep sitting there, and it shows when you show up in a studio and you're, able to play something and write it and then go in the booth and record it. And they're just like, okay, I guess he's done. I guess the song's done.
I think that's a perfect spot to end the podcast. Perfect. That's awesome, man. Well, what do you, anything you want to put out there as far as for the people that get to the end of this bad boy? Anything you want them to check out, your social medias, any shows?
Socials, definitely. There's a lot of stuff going on. So definitely, if you're not following me on socials, you need to be. The next 2 months or your next 2-3 months are going to be crazy. Instagram.com/CompositionC music, no spaces.
No spaces, no underscores.
No underscores.
One word.
Music. And then on Facebook, facebook.com/CompositionC, no spaces. If you want to listen to my music for free, it's Bandcamp, CompositionC, no spaces, .bandcamp.com. It's also on all major streaming platforms.
Would you say? What's the best place if someone's like, all right, where am I going? Because you said Bandcamp, they can like download stuff too, right?
Bandcamp, you can download albums. Some of my albums are free. You can also see some albums that aren't formally released that are more mixtape style on my Bandcamp. So compositionc.bandcamp.com is probably the best one to see everything. There's some exclusive projects on there, like I said, that you can hear before maybe later on I decided to delete.
I can't remember. Is Bandcamp, it's not with a K, right?
No.
Okay.
It's,
I didn't think so.
Bandcamp, just no spaces. Yep, spelled just like the words Bandcamp. And then I'm on all major platforms too: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. The next couple months, though, to give you an idea, I'm going to Hollywood in a month to record Lonely in LA 2 with Tasty. He's a named producer, so it's going to be a crazy album, like I said. In August, I'm going to Minnesota back there to record more punk music and to record some rap music. That's going to be at Carver Booth. And then at the end of August, I'm going to Orlando, the Future of Artists Summit, to reconnect with Caskey, Anonymous, and a bunch of music producers and big names. So we're going to have a bunch of fun. A lot of music on the way. So if you're not following,
put it out, man.
You better
stay on top of it, baby. I know it's hard to. That's awesome, man. We'll keep it up, and excited to see what this new album's about.
Yeah, thank you. And big shout out to Ootbox. If you haven't come out here, you need to get with the page, get with the program, because you're missing out.
Thanks,
as a techie.
Appreciate
techie, this is all professional gear. I was nerding out before we hit record. All these mics are professional. I actually recorded one of my albums on the mic that we literally have in the podcast room right now. All the tech here is awesome. It's a great place. If you're not,
get 4 people in here recording a song, acting like they have a podcast.
Yeah,
It'll be a music video podcast.
Be the first.
All right, thanks everybody.
Cool.